massive progress in your art in 12 months. Not so much day to day or week to week, but across the months you really can. So like in 2024, I decided to finally learn portrait drawing, and my portraits went from like this to like this. Or Jennifer, one of our students, for figure drawing, went from this to this in less than 6 months. Now, progress, it can be slow sometimes and fast sometimes, but across a year, you can really aim high. But I've also had years where I made almost no progress because I didn't have the right mindset, the right things to practice, or the right routine. So we're going to make sure you have those 3 things this year. But how you make those 3 things happen depends on who you are. So are you Po? Basically a beginner, very excited, you love art, but you haven't really trained or learned it properly before? Or are you like Tigress? You're pretty skilled, pretty experienced, but it feels like you've plateaued because you've been training that same way and you've been stuck in that way for a while. Or, and this is a bit more rare, are you like Tai Lung? Really technically proficient, but you've lost your path because in pursuing technical proficiency, you forgot what art is all about in the first place and you've lost your way. So what kind of mindset should you have if you're Po? The big pitfall for you if you're Po is you feel like you don't belong. And you know what? When you sit down and draw, and I've been here so many times, the drawing looks bad. It looks really bad. I've done so many drawings where I was embarrassed by it, and that doesn't make you enthusiastic to show up the next day and the next day and the next day, right?
You don't belong here.
Well, let me tell you something, right? You are not as far away from the skills that you need as you think. All that you really need is the fundamental skills, to practice those, to get a basic confidence with them so that you can express the thing you want to express. One artist that I love, one of my favorites, the one artist who I'll scour eBay for his books is Pascal Campion. Now, Pascal Campion doesn't use the fanciest techniques in his pictures. He just tells the story he wants to tell as simply and directly as he possibly can. But his big skill is that he's so in touch with what he wants to say, and then he just says it really clearly with no bells and whistles on. Now, you do need some technical skills. You do need to know and understand some things about perspective, form, values, and stuff like that. But you don't need to be super duper fancy with it and do the fanciest moves. You need the basic stuff, and then you need to be in touch with what you want to express and express it clearly. And you could be making more meaningful art than the Tai Lungs of this world, even within 12 months. What if you're Tigress? What kind of mindset shift do we need? Well, the problem for Tigress is that she can do cool stuff, all right? So how is she gonna continue to learn? When you're learning, you look silly. When you're learning something, it means you don't know how to do it well. So that means you're gonna do stuff badly and you're gonna look silly while you do it. Now, it's hard to look silly when you're Tigress because you know you can look awesome if you do it the way that you've always done it. So you go into your drawing and you draw the thing that you've always drawn, you draw it the way you've always drawn it, because it looks good, and if you do it another way, you look more like Po and less like Tigress. So you're gonna need that mindset of, you need to be a bit more like Po. Make a fool of yourself a little bit. You can do it in a secret sketchbook or something where no one will see if you want, but you're gonna have to take a step back in order to take 2 steps forward. And then what if you're Tai Lung? The big thing, the big secret for you Tai Lungs out of this world, where you're so focused on being the best technically, is no one cares. There are no Olympics for art skills. I don't put pictures up on the wall of the most technically proficient artwork. I put the artwork on the wall where it was the most heartfelt and expressive, and what was expressed really spoke to me. And I want the technique to be good enough to get that message across, and that's it. So instead of this imaginary status of the dragon warrior artist, best artist, and no one cares, but we would love to see the art that you make see the world through your eyes. And so that's going to be your North Star for the coming year. So what should you focus on learning if you're Poe? If you're early on in your learning, I found it really useful to basically have a focus, something that I would get pretty good at first. And that for me was figures using a charcoal pencil on smooth newsprint. Now that really, really worked for me, and I could learn the big principles of art just within that, and then I can start to branch off, and I've got this thing that I'm confident in to branch off from. And so it doesn't have to be those things. You could be doing industrial design with a graphite pencil in a Moleskine sketchbook. It could be digital portraits. It doesn't really matter, but you're going to be trying to get proficient at this thing with this material before you get that, chasing squirrels syndrome and get distracted by other stuff. Now, if you're Poe, you're a big fan of art and you know all the fancy moves. I want to do the photo bashing this thing, and I want to do the salt technique on the watercolor and all of this blah blah stuff, right? Now, that's all great, but what you're going to really want to focus on is the big, simple, fundamental principles of art first before you get into the fancy pants stuff. When it comes to understanding forms, three-dimensional forms, you want to learn how to see the big, simple forms first. If you're thinking about values, light and dark, you want to learn how to see the big, simple shapes of light and dark first. So whatever area you're focused on, you want to be working on the big to small principle. And then you're going to think about forms, you're going to think about values, right? It's a really good idea to learn about perspective, to learn how to simplify forms and then turn them and rotate them and things like that. Then light them from one side, so you have a lit side and a shadow side, just to help to learn about values, light and dark. Now, if you want, we have a PDF guide which kind of lays out a sequence of skills that you can design for yourself, plus links to various tutorials, right? Because I can't cover all these different tutorials right now, but depending on what you want to learn, we even have flowcharts, depending on if you want to be a portrait artist, a figure artist, an illustrator, or a comic book artist. What kind of stuff, what sequence would you want to learn? And then links to tutorials to learn those things. So, a really good sequence would be you're going to learn perspective, then you're going to learn how to simplify the forms of the figure. Let's say you want to draw people. And then you'll learn the basics of value by having a figure lit from one side, so there's a lit side and a shadow side. And you learn your forms and your values. So what if you're a tigress? You have a bunch of skills in place, but you're kind of not satisfied and you're stuck. It depends on what you're doing now, where you're stuck and where you want to be. So how are you going to go from where you're stuck to where you want to be? It could be that you're doing these like really long detailed graphite pencil drawings and you're doing them well, but what you really want to do is loose watercolor illustration. You're going to have to jump in with that material and that subject matter. It could be that, you're stuck in quick, loose gestural figure drawings, and because you can only really do those, that's what you always do. But what you really love is more finely rendered oil paintings, right? So it depends where you're stuck and where you want to get to. And it's going to be all about taking that. You've learned it once, so you know how to learn, but you're going to have to go really back to square one. You're going to progress through to something good a lot quicker this time, but it is going to be really painful. When you go into this new thing, this new subject, this new process, new material, it's going to hurt. You're going to have to take on that pain. It's going to be worth it because you're going to love where you are in a few months if you really diligently practice. So what if you're Tai Lung and you've got some skills, but you don't have the passion, the love for it anymore? Well, I think it's going to be all about finding the thing that you love, the thread, just the thread of it. The way the light's coming through that window, the way that illustrator drew that character, the way that warm and that cool color are juxtaposed against each other inside that shadow on that White House over there, and you go, I love that. What is it that I love about that? That artist brushstrokes, these are all little threads. You don't know exactly how you're going to pull that in to what you do, but these are threads and you can pull on these threads. You'll do studies. You'll do studies of those paintings. If it was a painting, if it was a moment, you'll do studies of those moments focused on that thing. It's not supposed to be a masterpiece. You're trying to investigate right? You're an adventurer or an explorer. You're experimenting, you're trying. It's full of unknowns. And you're pulling on these threads of the things that you love. So you're getting in touch again with what excites you, what gets your blood going, not just what is going to get you likes on Instagram, but what really speaks to you. And you're going to pull on these threads, and eventually something from that will get pulled into your style of artwork, the art that you create. And this is going to get more and more exciting, and then you'll keep pulling in things that you love, and suddenly art will be all about the passion and the love of what you're doing instead of being superior to everybody at perspective or something. Now the routine, the practice routine. So if you're Poe, the risk is you just stop practicing, right? You haven't been doing it before, it's easy to slip back into not doing it. If you're Tigris or Tai Lung, it's easy to slip back into the old things that you were doing. They felt pretty good, right? You were able to do something cool, so you're just going to do that again, instead of this new, more uncomfortable thing. So how do you keep yourself progressing and moving forward? Guess what? You need a Master Shifu to guide you. Is that Master Shifu me? No, I'm some guy on YouTube. That Master Shifu is you, right? You are Master Shifu and the student at the same time. You are your own teacher, all right? So most people don't realize this, and they are kind of their own teacher, and their approach to teaching is basically something like either one of these two. One teacher says, "You suck! Why aren't you practicing more? Why is your drawing not better? Why are you so lame? Why don't you go and eat some chocolates and watch TV instead?" And the other type of teacher that people are for themselves is, "Hey, why don't you just not do it, man? It would be so much easier to just not do it, right? Why don't we just relax?" So neither of these are good teachers. What would a good teacher do? What would Master Shifu do? Master Shifu would learn to understand the student. So you've got to kind of learn about yourself. And I had to do this. You'd think you would know yourself, but if I just leave myself to my own devices, I end up doing a bunch of things I don't want to do, eating chocolate and watching TV. So what I had to learn for myself, just as an example, I had to learn how to make YouTube less enticing by, for me, turning off the watch history so the algorithm doesn't work anymore. So I can't get addicted to stupid videos. Just the stuff I'm subscribed to. Subscribe to us, by the way. We're good, right? We're not addictive stuff. We're good stuff. So I only look at stuff I'm actually subscribed to there. I have, different types of practice I do depending on whether I'm tired or feeling really motivated. Yeah, that's important for me. I have routines. So, after I drop the kids off from school, I'll get the sketchbook out. After I put the kids down for bed, I'll get the sketchbook out, And so I've learned how to look after my practice habit, how to be a good coach to myself in a way that's compassionate, right, and kind to myself, but not soft and easy, right? There's a balance, right? Imagine a really good teacher. They challenge you, they keep pushing you, but they don't just scream in your face and make you feel bad. They make you feel confident, they make you feel bigger and more capable, but they don't let you off the hook. So you're gonna be the Master Shifu for yourself. So like I said earlier, we have this PDF guide, and it has, different ideas for what order to learn things in, and then a page for each skill and links to tutorials, or if you're in our study group, links to our full courses on that topic. The link for that is below, check it out. By the way, a great way, if you're interested in figure drawing, a great way to start off the year is with our Fresh Eyes mini course, and that is linked below, and we're gonna run it live in January. This month that I'm posting this video, we're gonna run it live, so that'll be extra fun, so check out the link for that below too. And then meanwhile, here's another video on the screen for you, so check it out, and I'll see you over there.